I've been scouring LinkedIn for the best posts. Let's jump right into them now. Here's a post from the great Chris Orlob. Most AEs think negotiation starts when procurement shows up. Wrong. Negotiation starts in discovery. The deals I won at the price I wanted, I set them up in the first 15 minutes of the first call. Here's how. I quantified the cost of inaction early, not at the end when they're negotiating. At the beginning when they're sharing pain. Quick example. Customer. Our sales cycle is 9 months. It should be 6. Most AEs? Got it. We can help with that. Me? Help me understand the math on that. How many deals are in flight right now? About 40. And what's your average deal size? 50K. So if I'm doing my math right, every month your sales cycle stays at 9 months instead of 6, you're delaying $2 million in revenue. Is that accurate? Yeah, actually more like $2.5 million when you factor in Q4. Now fast forward to negotiation. Procurement, we need 20% off. I understand you want the best deal. We established that every month you don't solve this costs $2.5 million in delayed revenue. Our product is 200 grand. Even at full price, you're ROI positive in 3 weeks. Does it make sense to delay this further over 40K? See what happened? Anchor to value, not price. By the time you get to negotiating, the business case should be bulletproof. The lesson? Stop thinking of discovery as qualification. Start thinking of it as a value building and defense mechanism. Every question you ask in discovery either strengthens or weakens your negotiation position later. Ask better questions early, negotiate less later. Now, there's a lot to unpack in this post, but what a great post. I want to go back to where his example kicks in. All right. You plant the seeds early. Sales cycle is 9 months. It should be 6. Okay. Right. So there's a pain point. But how much of a pain point is it? Well, if you're part of the 95% reps that go, we can help with that, you have not really uncovered any pain. You've got a pain point at surface level, but you don't know what that pain means and what it represents. Now, what Chris has done really well is he's dug in. Like, I just need to understand the math on that, right? How many deals are in flight right now? About 40. Okay, cool. And average deal size, great question, 50K. So what does that actually mean? It means you're delaying $2 million in revenue, right? 50K times 40. Actually, it's more like 2.5 million. Right. Well, now you've already got something to pull out when they later try and negotiate. That is the key point here. Always, you know this, they're going to try and negotiate further down the line. So make sure you have this in your armory right at the start. You already know what it's costing them. So if they're trying to get another 40K off, just remind them, look, I'm going to have to run this back up the chain. This may or may not get approved. That will take time. Time is obviously costing you money. Does it make sense to delay this any further? Because it's costing you 2.5 million, you just said. You told me at the start of this whole process how much it's costing you. Now, when you break it down like that, this helps you to hold your price. Anchor it to value, not price. He brings this up here. Anchor it to value. What does it mean to you? Bring it back and say, Mr. Prospect, you told me when we started this sales process 3 months ago that this is what it's costing you in delayed revenue. Do you remember that conversation? Yes. I made a note of it because I thought it was super serious. I know you want to chop down your sales cycle from 9 months to 6 months. We delay this any further, at 2.5 million is still being delayed. So you've already started building your world-class defense at the start. So when they hit you with, hey, I want a discount, this and that, whatever. Hey, look, before I even ask anyone else, does it make sense that we delay this any further? Because it's costing you so much already. Saving 40K is not really a saving, because by the time we get this approved, and it may or may not get approved, your revenue keeps on getting delayed. I think we should get this moving forward, don't you? What a great post. Now, let's move on to the next post. Again, a Chris Orlob post. We're doing a Chris Orlob masterclass here. To salespeople ending their quarter on December 31st, these 6 words are the best advice I can give you. Don't await the verdict, influence it. A few years ago, I noticed a strange pattern. Whenever I was waiting on a verdict from a buyer, I lost. Guys, we've all been there, right? We have a budget meeting on Tuesday where my boss is going to be making the decision. I'll let you know what we decide. A lot of reps get excited to hear things like that. He dreads it, right? Deals like that sound good. They almost always go south. This isn't just true when closing deals. I noticed the same thing when raising funding. I noticed again when recruiting. I usually lost when candidates said things like, "Thanks, Chris. I'm making my final decision on where to work next by Friday. Can I call you then and let you know what I decide?" Trust me when I say this, if you're passively awaiting a verdict, bad sign. You're going to lose whenever this is the dynamic. Final decision meeting is on Monday. I'll let you know then. Now, you might be thinking, damn, Chris, you're right. I lost 8 out of 10 deals when I was awaiting a verdict. Yeah, he is right. If that's you, your next thought is probably, so what do I do so I don't lose? Follow this rule. Don't await the verdict. Influence it. Whenever I'm in a pipeline review with my AE team, anytime I hear a situation where they're awaiting a verdict, I ask this: how can we move from awaiting to influencing the verdict? 2 examples. Example 1, buyer. I've got a final budget meeting with my CFO Friday. I should have an answer then. Instead of waiting until Friday, where your weekend will promptly be ruined, say this: as you can imagine, I've helped a few dozen others sell this internally to their CFO. Do you mind if we find 30 minutes before the meeting to put a 1-page business case together? I can share some angles that worked in the past. Perfect. Now you're not awaiting your doom. And if they say, no, I don't think it's a good idea. Look, from my experience, if you're really keen to get this over the line, is this something you want to implement? Yes, it is, Neil. Okay, well, from my experience, having done this so many times prior, without a business case, the chances of you getting this over the line fall. They go down dramatically. We can do this together. I can show you the points that have worked in the past. Sounds like a no-brainer to me unless I'm missing something. You're taking the bull by the horns. Example number 2. I'm reviewing all of my notes between vendors and I'll make my final decision on Tuesday. You've got no control over that one. This one's harder, right? You had a champion in your corner in the first example, but this, you're dealing with a coy buyer. Say this: I can understand that. And I have to ask, if you've learned nothing new between now and Tuesday, what would you decide and why? Tad aggressive? Maybe. But now you're getting something you can work with. Instead of saying, okay, talk Tuesday, you instead have a chance to influence their thinking. See the difference? And it is about creating a chance. Give yourself a chance. That's all we can ask for here. Yeah, when you're dealing with a coy buyer, you need a shot at trying to influence. If you're awaiting a verdict, you're an effect. If you're influencing a verdict, you are a cause. You're making things happen instead of letting things happen. Big difference. As I reflect on the last decade selling SaaS, recruiting and raising capital, I've found this to be true. You will lose 8 out of 10 deals where you're awaiting a verdict. This must resonate with you sellers out there. It resonates with me. Absolutely. We've all been there, right? We've all been there. Let's go back up. You want to influence and not wait for a verdict. Right? Final decision meetings on Monday. I'll let you know then. Oh, that should be red flag, alarm bells ringing in your head. Yeah. This is what you want to say. I've got a final budget with my CFO. As you can imagine, I've done this ton. We've gone through this, right? We want to be influencing, at least give ourselves a chance of influencing if they're not a champion, because that's the whole point here. If you wait, you're waiting for bad news. Candidate says it as well, right? I'm going to make my decision by Friday. I'll let you know when. And I'm speaking as an ex-recruiter here. When a candidate says that, 9 times out of 10, they're going with the other job. They're just delaying the inevitable, but you keep that little bit of hope alive and that keeps you going until you get the inevitable bad news. In fact, he mentions this at the start, doesn't he? When he was recruiting. Thanks, Chris. I'm making my final decision on where to work by next Friday. I'll let you know. Can I call you then? I'll let you know what I decide. It's a terrible sign. And I can say this as an ex-recruiter. So I'm with Chris on this one. Some really, really good lessons here. Await a verdict. Your job is a seller. Yeah. You're not an administrator. You're not just an order taker. Yeah. You're there to influence decisions. And if you've got a champion, great. Let's build a business case to put together in front of your CFO. When have you got 30 minutes? And if it's someone that's not a champion, okay, look, if all things stay equal between now and Tuesday when you're making that decision, which way are you leaning? These are questions that we have to ask instead of going, no problem, let me know how the meeting goes, or no problem, let's talk again Tuesday. Shall I shout you in the afternoon? That's not the right question. Yeah, the right question, if all things are equal, if all things remain equal from now until decision day, D-Day, which way you're leaning and why? Great post. Now, I've gone to another post here from a chap called Ace. Disqualified a prospect in 39 seconds today. Pretty sure that's a new personal best. Got on a call with the CEO and asked a quick question. But here's the thing. They're married to their current solution with no plans of going anywhere. They don't even want to think about switching, had no real pain. No hard feelings. Sometimes the fastest no is the best use of everyone's time. The prospect said to me, why after 17 years would we fix something that's working great and that isn't broken? I had to laugh in my head and move on. His tone said it all. What's the quickest you've ever disqualified a prospect? Now, this post is more of a thinking one for you reps out there. What would you do here, right? When you've got on a call with someone, bear in mind you've been trying to get on a call with them for a long time, especially if they're C-level. They're married to their current solution 17 years. Right? Why would we fix something that isn't broken? Would you just go, you know what? I can hear it in their tone, like Ace has done here. Don't worry about it. See you later. Or would you dig a little bit deeper? Now, the thing is, it seems like they've taken a meeting here rather than this being off a cold call. This is actually a meeting that's taken place, which means we can disqualify it. But we've also got to ask ourselves, why did they take the meeting in the first place, right? Who knows? Maybe they had a change of heart since the meeting was booked. Now, we can disqualify it. You can hear it in their tone, not interested, move on. You've saved yourself a potential bunch of time. Or we could dig in a little bit deeper here, right? And go, okay, cool. So am I right in thinking in the last 17 years, you haven't looked at what else is on the market? Is that right? Yes, Neil, that's right. Or, well, no, we've had a bit of a look. Okay, cool. Well, what drove you to have a look in the first place? And if they say, no, we haven't looked, aren't you slightly curious as to seeing if your way is the best way? Should we take a look? And maybe your way is the best way. But if you haven't looked in the market, how do you know? Right? This is the type of questioning that we can go down, because just because they're married to something for 17 years, it doesn't mean they can't leave. They think it's working great, but they haven't looked at the rest of the market. How do they know it's the best in breed right now? And if they have looked, curious, things are working great. Why did you look in the first place? That's the line of questioning I personally would go down here. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Equally, if you want to disqualify because you think you've done a ton of these calls before and you can hear it in their tone, it's a judgment call. But they've jumped on a meeting with you. They're C-level. They don't jump on meetings for no reason. So I think you want to probably dig a little bit deeper here, and I'd go down the avenue that I just discussed. Let me know what you think in the comments. Right, the final post, and we're back to Chris Orlob. Sales might be the worst career for 90% of people today. Here's why. It's no longer about charm, personality, and charisma. It's about acumen. You need to know business, finance, psychology, negotiation, technology, data analysis, and every aspect of the selling process. I can't remember a time when buyers were this educated, this skeptical, this hard to reach. When I started in 2013, simple playbook. Cold call $100 a day, demo features, close on price. He's not wrong. Now it's all that plus multi-threading complex deals, building business cases, competing against 10 plus vendors, selling to committees, not individuals. Sales is not for the faint-hearted anymore. If you want an easy career, go somewhere else. But for the sellers who commit to mastery rather than looking for an easy ride, you can still build wealth if you embrace AI and learn new skills. The bar is high, but so is the reward. And he goes on, 300K plus W2s are still very achievable. What's your take? Is sales getting harder? I thought this was a super interesting post, right? He is right. This was the blueprint. This was the playbook. You know, maybe even less than 10 years ago. Yeah, cold call, dial, make $100 a day, you will book meetings. And then what you do with those meetings is that you feature dump. Yeah, and then you close on price and then you move on. And that's what it was. And there was a more transactional feel to it. And now you got to do way more. Complex deals, you've got to multi-thread them, you've got to build business case. And of course, there obviously were complex deals 10, 12 years ago that you still needed to multi-thread, but there's so much more now. This happens pretty much on every deal, right? You've got to build business cases. You're competing against several vendors. I mean, that's potentially also the case depending on what you sell 10, 12 years ago, what you sold then. Selling to committees, not individuals. You have to really be a seasoned sales professional. You have to have a lot more in your armor these days. This isn't about like a wham bam, thank you ma'am, on to the next. Yeah, you need to, even in SMB today, you need to be super skilled. You need to build business cases at times. And he's right, it's not an easy career, right? But if you can get it right, you can be If you can be a great seller in today's market, you can really count yourself as one of the best sellers around, full stop. Because if you can sell in today's market with the skill set that is required that Orlob has highlighted here, you are a far more well-rounded seller than the days of 10, 12, 15, even 20 years ago. You're far more well-rounded now because you have to do all these other things and manage so much and juggle and still handle objections and negotiate at the start and be the guide and lead throughout a far more complex selling process and market in general. So yeah, sales is not for the faint-hearted, definitely not in this day and age. But if you can level up and skill up and be the best today and thrive in today's market, you can pat yourself on the back and count yourself as one of the most seasoned sellers around. And you can even go back in history and compare yourself with the best. Guys, if you stuck around to the end, I really appreciate it. I have put in the link for you my 50 best discovery questions. They're free. Download your copy right now. These are the ones that are going to work best in the new year in 2026. And if you've enjoyed the video and you've stuck around this long, like, subscribe, and if you want to see more of me and more of my content, click right here and I'll see you guys in there.